Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there tonight and had yourselves a wonderful day, and I hope everyone has had a great beginning to their week out there so far. Here to give you the latest information that we got on what is soon to be Hurricane Francine. Right at this second, this is still a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm, Francine, but by the time a lot of you folks watch this video, this will most likely be a hurricane. They could actually upgrade this to a hurricane any minute now. That's just how it is when we're and kind of real-time tracking a tropical cyclone, and this system certainly is no different, as this is definitely in the process of strengthening. So we're going to give you all the latest information that we got. Folks, this is forecast to now become a 100-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane. Could we end up getting a major hurricane out of this, which means it would have to be Category 3 or higher? Absolutely. So we're going to talk about all the model guidance that we got. We'll talk about current conditions. We'll go over the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll geek out with you a little bit in this video. We'll talk about why this could rapidly intensify sometime over the next 24 to 36 hours. What could prevent it from, I would say, reaching some of these higher end scenarios, because I don't want to just come on here and freak everybody out and say, yeah, this is going to be a Category 3, Category 4 hurricane. We can't rule that out. But I want to show you guys some fail modes with this too. So we're going to speak on that. We're going to talk heavy on impacts. We're going to get you guys covered. I'm going to try to mention many states. We'll talk about wind impacts, flooding, even a little bit on the tornado threat, storm surge, and all of that. Hopefully I'll answer your question in this video. Not going to speak on those areas of interest out in the Atlantic. We're just going to primarily focus in on Francine. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put those in the comments below. So let's get rocking and rolling tonight. So this is Tropical Storm Francine, and folks, I will say I have seen hurricanes look worse than this. This already looks like a Category 1 hurricane. It has that spin to it. It just has that look, right? So we're going to draw on this a little bit. I want to make sure this is working, and it is. So you can quite obviously see the cyclonic flow of this tropical system, spinning like this cyclonically, like all low pressure does in the northern hemisphere. If you look kind of on the outer edges of the clouds of Francine, you notice that you're getting some shrinking of some clouds going out like this, and then they kind of go down like this and fan out like that. You can really see it right here. And you can see it even right into here, and then it kind of goes out like that. So we've been talking about this a lot, right? So this has an excellent outflow on top of the actual low to mid-level circulation of this system. So basically air on top of this system in the upper levels is being dispersed outward. This is allowing for more air to rise throughout the middle of the system. That is getting pushed outward, and it's just a continuous process of rising air. Rising air allows for the sustaining of convection. Convection is shower and storm activity. If we're continuously getting shower and storm activity, then we are really creating a very moist environment for the center of this system, which tropical systems obviously like moist air, so it will have an opportunity to intensify. So that's what's going on with this system right now. It has one heck of an upper wind, I would say, pattern out ahead of it, divergence aloft. And basically what we call a ULAC is right on top of the system, upper level anticyclone. So it's living and quite literally breathing very well out here in the Gulf of Mexico. So this is the current conditions. There is a little bit of dry air affecting this system, just a little bit, and I think this is actually affecting more so the west side of this system, kind of getting entrained a little bit. I think this is kind of preventing it in the shorter term from rapidly intensifying right now, but by the time we get over to the next few hours, things could really dramatically change fast with this system, and that's just how it is in the Gulf of Mexico. So we continue to move forward. The latest from the National Hurricane Center around the 5:30 update. Like I said, 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. If you're wondering what site I'm using right here, this is called Zoom Earth. It's a wonderful site to use, guys. I'm telling you, it's easy to use, to toggle through. It's like combining Google Maps with the tropics. It's just phenomenal. I love it. I found out about it a few years back, and I've used it when breaking down the tropics ever since. But it's a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm, folks. By the time we get into 2 a.m. tonight, 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane. Strengthens to potentially a Category 1 85-mile-per-hour hurricane by tomorrow afternoon. And now, folks, they got this getting to a 100-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane by 2 a.m. Wednesday. And then, how much does it strengthen? I think that this area right into here is the area I am fascinated in as just kind of a weather nerd on what's going to happen. Okay, does it continue to intensify right in here between like 2 a.m. Wednesday and 2 p.m. Wednesday? Does it weaken some? Does it kind of sustain itself? I think dry air will be trying to get into the system shear, allowing for dry air. But we'll talk more on that here in a second. But as of now, the National Hurricane Center has this kind of maintaining at a 100-mile-per-hour Category 2 hurricane for about 12 hours before ultimately making a landfall into Louisiana, which will most likely be the state it does make that landfall into, sometime, we might as well say Wednesday p.m. So I'm going to leave that entire time frame opened up there, anywhere from early afternoon Wednesday to late in the evening, overnight hours in the wee hours of the morning, Thursday morning is possible here. But you see this red area, that's hurricane warnings. This is a little bit inland too. We got tropical storm warnings that are inland too, not really showing up on this map, but you got tropical storm watches up, way over here in southeastern sections of Louisiana. And I don't want to ignore my folks in Texas. Along the Texas coastline, you got tropical storm watches. Just north of the Galveston Bay, you got tropical storm warnings. Then, got the hurricane warnings here in the red. So forecast to make landfall as a Category 2 hurricane sometime Wednesday p.m. Then, of course, you zoom out here. This will obviously weaken due to land interaction to a tropical storm as it basically moves right up potentially the Mississippi River. This will bring impacts to Jackson, even Hattiesburg, Meridian, even though that's a little bit further east. There definitely will be a tornado risk on the east side of this cone here. Talk more on that even a little bit in this video, but more in the videos to come. So obviously weakens to a depression by Thursday afternoon, but folks, this is going to bring impacts all the way up into the Midwest to Kentucky, Tennessee. How big will the impacts be? Of course, the winds will lessen, but you'll still get a lot of rains and even a tornado potential with this. So, and then just maybe some gusty winds. So we'll have to continue to watch this. If you look at the haziness right here, check this out. This is actually Canadian smoke. And I know this doesn't have anything to do with the video, but I also think it's kind of fascinating to see here. See all this kind of area right here looks hazy. That is smoke from Canada getting all the way down into the southeast. So pretty wild to check out. But here's the more classic look from the National Hurricane Center. Tropical storm Francine moving north-northwest at 7 miles per hour, 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm. I know I've said that about a million times, but the H stands for hurricane, the H icon, the S tropical storm, D tropical depression. So there's the timeline of that. That's available to the public too. Just literally type in National Hurricane Center on Google and then click on the first link you see. Now, I want to show you guys this, and I'm not going to stay on this long. Francine here. Notice it says right now central pressure 996 millibars. And I'm going to update this because we could get a new update here any second. But it's 996. That's important to what I'm going to show you later in this video as we're going over model guides. In fact, the very next frame, we're going to talk about this. So just keep that in mind. It's initializing as a 996 millibar tropical storm. Okay, now let's go on and go over the model guidance. So let's talk about the latest GFS run. I want to note we're going to start this off on every single on all of our model guidance. We're going to start this off for Tuesday morning, tomorrow morning, September the 10th. So on the GFS, it's initializing as a 995. So what you're trying to tell me, GFS, is this is only going to somehow drop 1 millibar between now and tomorrow morning. It's hard to believe, right? Because it's already, remember, a 996. So I think the models are having a hard time latching on to how strong the system already is. Of course, we had the hurricane hunters that flew out into this and confirmed the drop in millibar to 996. But let's go on and keep moving forward regardless. Watch between Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning how this number right here drops, which is Francine. So, we get into Tuesday midday, not much happens. Then you get into tomorrow evening around this time, 988 millibar hurricane. And then you get into Wednesday morning. This is a 978 millibar Category 2 hurricane heading right towards the Louisiana coastline. I do want to mention we've had some ticks east. I think the stronger the system gets in the near term, the more it'll tick east. Now, if you're tuning in from Gulfport, Mobile, Pensacola, I don't think it's going to trend all the way to the Panhandle of Florida. I'm not going to sit here and rule out Alabama, but the Panhandle of Florida, that's really stretching it. But 971 millibar Category 1 hurricane early Wednesday afternoon makes landfall sometime Wednesday evening as a sub 980 millibar hurricane and then brings all kinds of impacts well inland. Of course, you guys know all about hurricanes. The most recent one to really slam you guys was Hurricane Ida. I actually chased that hurricane. So I don't think this will be comparable to Ida. Ida will be kind of coming in from a little bit more of a different direction. Ida kind of came in from the southeast. This will be kind of coming in from more of the southwest. but could go over some of the same areas like Thibodaux, Houma, and just the entire swamp region of of Louisiana. But this will bring widespread impacts well inland. I mean, look, you got a full-fledged tropical storm Thursday morning right over the state of Mississippi. I think there'll be a tornado risk ongoing right here on the east side of this low. But I will tell you, if you look at the run prior to this, it had the low all the way basically back into the Louisiana-Arkansas line. If you look at the current run, it has this right in the middle of the state of Mississippi. So there's been a tick east with that. I think regardless, it's going to go more north instead of like northeast, like way over here. But this is going to bring widespread impacts well far inland. And we're going to talk more on that. We just really need to focus in on the near term. Euro. It's initializing tomorrow morning's a 998 millibar low. Folks, it's already a 996 right now. So, at this point, we can, ooh and ah over all the model guidance all day, but they're not doing a great job initializing this. But we are looking at it because we're going to see how much it intensifies on model guidance just between now and the next 48 hours. But we continue to move this forward. We take it all the way to Wednesday morning. It's only at a 990 millibar low. I think that's way off. I mean, it's already a 996 right now. So it's hard to believe between now and then Wednesday morning, it's only going to drop, 6 millibars? So that's very inaccurate. We don't think that's going to happen. The euro basically has a weaker bias. So we continue to move forward here. We get into Wednesday afternoon. It finally catches on, 978 millibar. Now we hope that that's the case, right? But even the euro that is initializing so weak, right, and doesn't strengthen it much over the next 24 hours, even the euro deepens it pretty quickly and gets it all the way to a 974 millibar Category 2 hurricane late Wednesday evening and makes that landfall into the central Louisiana coastline. Then it obviously moves inland, weekends, and kind of does the same thing as the GFS, except a little bit further west. Tropical storm rumbling right through the rest of Louisiana, Mississippi, right up the Mississippi River, basically. So, Icon. Let's show this, too. We got to tip our hat to the Icon because the Icon caught on to this before all models did. Except, I think the Euro AI model showed it, too. But we take this into Wednesday morning, and this is the latest Icon. Has it as a 984 millibar high-end Category 1, low-end Category 2 hurricane. And it makes landfall pretty early in the day. I mean, moves on shore is kind of a 988-ish millibar low, so a weaker scenario. We hope that this is the scenario that plays out around early to mid-afternoon Wednesday. And, is definitely a better case scenario. We hope that something like the Icon happens where it's not as strong. Now, let's go over the hurricane models. All right, so this is the H-Wharf model. Initializing this tomorrow morning is a 995. I still think that's off, unless it just does not strengthen much overnight. And folks, there's a potential it doesn't. I think that it's important to note that we cannot just assume that every tropical cyclone is going to go boom in the Gulf of Mexico because we've seen it time and time again. I think Debbie's a great example of that just a few weeks back. We just can't assume that these systems are just going to go boom, okay, and just explode and rapidly intensify. It's a very lengthy process to get to a state with these tropical cyclones for them to undergo that rapid intensification, which ultimately gets these systems to that Category 3, 4, and 5 status, which we hope does not happen. But the H-Wharf model, I mean, we take it into Wednesday morning, gets us all the way to a 979 millibar low. Look at that northern side of the system, looks pretty robust, okay, especially the northeast, the eastern side also. But if you notice, the southern side looks like it's not void of shower and storm activity, but it's definitely not getting the intense reds that the northern side is getting. That's because dry air is getting entrained into the southern side of the system. But this eventually makes landfall sometime Wednesday afternoon. It's a 977 millibar low right along kind of the west central coastline of Louisiana. What about the HMON model, which is another hurricane model? Same thing, strengthens pretty significantly tomorrow, gets this all the way until Wednesday morning is a 972 millibar low. We're getting close to Category 3 status at this point, but you can already tell, the southern side of the system is not near as intense as the northern side of the systems because dry air is pulling in. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. The HMON model is a worst case scenario, folks. It drops this all the way to Category 3 status, major status, okay? And it looks like, to me, that the system is able to recover and protect itself from dry air right here, and you actually get the wrapping on the southern side of that intense convection once again, and this ultimately is a worst case scenario and brings a Category 3 or higher hurricane into the Louisiana coastline. We don't want that to happen. Now, what about the HFA model? All right, initializing this, I think, a little bit better. Has it at 992 tomorrow morning, which I could see. Deepens it all day tomorrow, and to the point where we get all the way into Wednesday morning, and this is a 970 millibar Category 2 hurricane. And then it just kind of stays in the 970s pretty much the rest of the way, and then right before landfall, it tries to deepen it to around 969, 970 Wednesday evening, but it makes landfall, as you can tell, a good bit further east. So it gets it more close to southeast Louisiana as opposed to way over here like the H-Wharf and H-Mon model. Okay, what about the HFB model? It's initializing this as a 985 millibar low tomorrow morning, which I could see. That would make it a Category 1 hurricane as we wake up tomorrow morning, which is what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting, by the way. Okay, and this deepens this, all the way, by the time we get into tomorrow evening, the HFB model is saying, hey, this is going to be a Category 2 hurricane. And then it deepens this into a 962 millibar low hurricane Wednesday morning. We do not want to see this. And eventually weaken somewhat upon landfall, which I like the idea of. I think that's going to happen. Or either it's just going to, I think it'll really explode late tomorrow, maybe all the way into Wednesday morning. And then I think it's going to just kind of maintain itself or maybe weaken a little bit right before making landfall. And this is why. Let's talk about the environment it's under right now. So if you compare what model is this? Yeah, this is the HFA model. If you compare what the HFA model is saying to current conditions, which is this, it matches up well. Expansive outflow, we already talked about this at the beginning of the video. Very healthy tropical system that's just doing well. It's breathing and ventilating very well. You compare it with what the HFA model is showing with the upper wind pattern, which, by the way, that's what this is. These are winds. This is winds at 35, 40,000 feet up in the air. Okay, 200 millibars is wind speeds, wind direction. So if you notice, the environment supports. You got this. You got air being dispersed outward from the system. It gets kind of weird right here, but in general, it's a pretty good environment for air being dispersed out away from this system. Okay, little bit of some weird stuff going on right here, but in general, you have a nice divergence flow aloft, an upper level anticyclone overhead with the system that's allowing this to have a lot of rising air with it. So as we move this forward and we get this off your screen and we continue to move here, this continues to be the case for the upper wind environment for this system for the next 24 to 36 hours. In fact, that's why that number drops, which indicates a strengthening storm system. But we kind of get right here. Gets kind of weird. All right, now you got some high winds and a steady kind of zonal flow coming from this direction right here. And this is kind of hitting the western side of the system with this trough up here, this dip in the jet. So, and down here, you're kind of getting this. Air is being dispersed outward on the eastern and northern side of the system, but on the western side, it's kind of hitting the system and probably not only affecting the system in the upper levels, but in the low to mid levels too. It's disrupting just the cyclonic flow of the system, I think. So basically, these arrows that I'm pointing that's kind of going right towards the L, this hits it with some wind shear, affects the cyclonic flow of the system. So as soon as that wind shear starts to hit the system, the structure begins to kind of fall apart steadily. Now, it's a process of falling apart, just like there's a process of the structure improving. It's not like the system, as soon as it gets hit by wind shear, is just going to not be resilient and just fall flat on its face. It's a process of weakening. So if this system is very strong at this point, has a very moist environment, it'll be a process of this dry air actually getting to the center of this storm. And, on this particular model run, it kind of prevents it from strengthening, but it doesn't weaken the system in time. And if you look at the HFA model, you can see the very moist environment this system is surrounding with, indicated by the green colors, tomorrow morning. Okay, and you continue, very moist environment, very moist environment. It's all the way down to a 973 millibar low. We get into Wednesday morning, 970. But look at this. Look at all the green you're seeing right here, indicating all that dry air on the east and northeast and northern side of the system. But as winds are wrapping into the system, you're getting this dry air because wind shear is hitting this system. This is affecting the structure of this system, which is allowing for dry air to kind of eat up the moisture right here, and this is obviously circulating into this system. So you're going to see this area right here, which is that brown color dry air, get a little bit closer to that low pressure as it works closer to the Louisiana coastline. So we keep moving here, but if you notice, it does not get to it in time on this particular run, and that's a possibility. Okay, look how close it's getting. It's right there, but you still have a little bit of moist air left, but it's starting to eat away at it, and it's trying to get to what I always call the heart of this tropical system, which is the low-level circulation, but it doesn't make it in time. A lot of dry air. It looks like a half a cane at this point. Tons of moist air, big time, high impact conditions down here. This is eating up all the moisture on the southern flank of this system. All right, so we kind of compare this with maybe another model run right here. Let's look at the H-Wharf model. And you see the H-Wharf model, for example, it looks like it does make it. The dry air gets to it and begins to weaken right here, especially right after it makes landfall. But I can tell you the concerning thing about this is that the dry air does not look to make it to the actual low-level circulation to impact it before making landfall. But the fail mode with this, which is the good fail mode, is that the dry air affects this system throughout the life of the rest of the system over the Gulf of Mexico to the point where it never can rapidly intensify. That's what we hope. That's what we hope, but unfortunately that's not what's forecast to become. So let's talk about impacts. All right, chances to see tropical storm force winds over the next 5 days. You might as well say there's a 100% chance right here along the Louisiana coastline. I mean, where you see that red, that's a 70 to 80% chance. Even got in the burgundy, a 80 to 90% chance to see winds above 40 miles per hour or higher, even above a 50% chance along the Texas coastline. Okay, we look at the chances to see 50 knot winds or higher. Okay, so that's what, 55 to 60 mile per hour winds, mid-grade tropical storm force conditions. And I mean, even right here, you got a 50 to 60% chance to see that. And this is gust, okay, for the most part. Pretty high chance to already see that along the Louisiana coastline. Even chances to see hurricane force wind conditions, which is 70, might as well say 75 mile per hour wind gust or higher. I mean, this is starting to increase along the Louisiana coastline now too, which are now up to what, even a 20 to 30, almost 40% chance to see that. So, if we look at, let's see what the National Weather Service is showing first. Let's see if there's a new graphic. There is. Awesome. That is phenomenal. Cool. So this is going to look a little glitchy. In fact, it's really glitchy. Almost glitchy to the point where I just need to show the other one. But the National Weather Service forecast as far as winds. They have the strongest winds coming right into the central Louisiana coastline. So I'm going to start to mention some towns and cities probably in tomorrow's videos. Just want this last day of kind of model watching to go through, and then I'm going to start spitting out some town names and cities. But if you live along that central Louisiana coastline right here, just inland, then yeah, heavy impacts. But you see these kind of pinks and dark pinks and almost red right here. That is wind gust potential being at 85, 95, even 100 miles per hour in this area. And then you even see the streak of stronger winds inland. Now, what about the latest GFS? What is this showing? We're going to have to go a little bit further in time here. Here we go. This is bringing just 75, 80 mile per hour wind gusts along the central to even eastern sections of the Louisiana coastline. Now, across the entire southeast sections of Louisiana, it brings anywhere from 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, and then it brings some very windy conditions also into the deep south. So if you take a look at the deep south with this, I mean, this would bring strong wind potential all the way up into Mississippi, even Alabama, Tennessee, with 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts later this work week. All right, so what about the Euro? What is the Euro showing? And same thing, we'll kind of go, well, hopefully you guys can see it. We'll go on and just zoom in again. Louisiana, there it is, that kind of nose of winds approaching 80 to almost 95 mile per hour wind gusts along the Louisiana coastline, and it goes inland 70 to 75. And then once again, you know, you get into Mississippi. So I think somebody said, what, I didn't mention Mississippi in this morning's video. I think I did, but anyways, we always get comments like that. I think we all know that. But Mississippi could potentially, if we continue to get ticks east, could definitely get all-out tropical storm force conditions. I could see schools getting canceled for a lot of folks in Mississippi into Thursday, even all the way up into western Tennessee. It's very possible areas of Arkansas, certainly Louisiana, obviously, but very strong winds. This is going to tweak a little bit, but that is comparing some model guidance. It is pretty wild that the National Weather Service is going for higher winds than some of these global models, which tend to be quite aggressive. But we're talking about rain. They've actually kind of dropped rainfall totals, but this kind of orange area right here, that is, and let's see if there is some new graphic here. There's not. Rainfall right in here, kind of just south and southeast of Lake Charles, going for 6 to 8 inches of rain. But just in general, the yellow, that's around 4 to 6 inches of rain. A lot of rain is possible for southeast Louisiana, even up in the Gulfport like Mobile. 2 to 6 inches of rain is possible. Another way to look at this is the Weather Prediction Center, and they are going for 6 to 8 inches of rain along the southern sections of Louisiana. There's this pocket of heavier rain right here that it likes for southwestern Mississippi. But I think this entire region right in here is good for 4 to, in the red, the dark red, and even that brownish color, good for 4 to 8 inches of rain. And, you do take a look at the deep south in general with this, and a lot of rain right up the Mississippi Valley area, the Delta. Memphis right here going for 3 to 4 inches of rain. And you even take a look at the Ohio Valley with this rainfall too, folks. And we'll have to extend this a little bit further outward. And this is going to bring, rain. Now, this is between now and like next Monday. This will bring a lot of heavy rain all the way up into the Midwest and, areas of the Ohio Valley. So we could get a flow that supports flash flooding. We'll talk more on that here in the Western Carolinas here into this weekend. So that's the latest on rainfall. As far as the excessive rainfall outlook between now and the next 5 days, if you live in the red, that's where you have a moderate risk, which means you have a 40% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in a given location. So just like with any tropical system, you have a threat for flash flooding. And then the storm surge. Let's see if there's any changes with this. There's not. 5 to 10 feet of storm surge is possible in forecast between Cameron and Port Fortune, 5 to 10 feet in this area. 4 to 7 feet between Port Fortune and the mouth of the Mississippi River, and then basically between that and the Mississippi-Alabama border, 2 to 4 feet. This could change. This is going to tweak some. A few feet of storm surge for the Texas coastline is likely with this. So I will mention there will be a tornado threat. You see, this is already at day 3, so this is for Wednesday. They already have a slight risk for southeast Louisiana and southern areas of Mississippi. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. That's going to be driven off a 5% risk of a tornado. No doubt about it. Don't have any doubts about that in my mind. So that's about it with the update on the tropics. I was able to get through that pretty fast. Let's go back here and see if there's any new updates. There is not. Just kind of crossing on my T's here. Sometimes they like to do updates. Now, that's about it, guys. So, this system is definitely, as the sun is beginning to set on it, well on its way to getting its act together. Do we have any recon missions going out in this system? We're just going to check a couple things on the fly here. Just don't want to leave out anything. It looks like we got a recon mission going out right now, but it still has not really gotten to the storm yet. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Continue to keep you updated. I'll have you another update in the morning. Talk to you soon.